Hi, it's Darcey here, and I have a few questions about Children's Book of the Month, Until the Road Ends. I love Beau and dogs, but was it hard to write a story from the dog's point of view?
Hello, how are you? My name is Phil Earle, and I am the author of Until the Road Ends. And the first question that you would like me to answer is about one of my favourite things in the world, which is dogs. And the question reads, I love dogs and Beau. Was it difficult to write a story from a dog's point of view? I think the answer to that is quite easy, really, for me, in that I don't think it was. Because all I did was treat them in exactly the same way that I would a human character. I'm really lucky. I have two dogs. I have two dogs who are very similar in breed to Beau here. They are called Bedlington Whippets. They're a cross between a Bedlington and a Whippet, surprisingly enough. And all I did, if I'm honest, was treat them as I would a human character. When you have dogs, when you have animals, what you learn quite quickly is that they feel things like we feel. They get angry, they get sad, they get excited, they get hungry. And so they're the same sort of basic emotions, and they feel the same empathy for us as humans. So I just treated them in exactly the same way. I didn't feel like while I was writing it that I was actually writing about an animal at all. It could have been Joseph from When the Sky Falls, or Noah from While the Storm Rages. And I think that's the key, really. If you want to write believable characters that aren't humans, just treat them in exactly the same way. Don't treat them as being simple beings. My dogs are incredibly complicated. And the added complication normally is that they can't talk. They can only bark. And so if you have them speaking, they can articulate exactly the same things that we do. And they feel just as three-dimensional and real, I hope, as a result. So don't be intimidated by writing about things that aren't humans, writing about non-verbal characters, like Adonis, for example, in When the Sky Falls. They can still communicate, just in different ways, through touch, through noises, through a simple cock of the head. So yeah, it was a joy to write about those animals, and I really hope that they felt believable as a result.
My second question is, what inspired you to have a career as a writer?
Yeah, well, I kind of fell into it by accident. I became a writer by mistake. I never wanted to be a writer. I wanted to play football for the greatest team the world's ever seen, who are, of course, Hull City, correct? But I wasn't good. Wasn't quick enough. Wasn't skillful enough. Just wasn't good enough, basically. I didn't really like reading as a kid, unless it was about football. I really struggled with novels, but I like comics, and I used to read this every Monday. This is Roy the Rovers. Look how much that cost, 15p on the 17th of January 1981. And I loved it because I didn't feel scared of this kind of reading, because it was words and pictures together on a page, and that didn't feel intimidating in the same way as a novel did. A novel just felt like words and words and words and words, whereas something like this, when it was words and pictures together, felt great. So I didn't start writing until I was in my mid-20s, and I came on it by accident in that I got a job in a bookshop, and I worked in the children's department, and they told me, they said, start reading the books for young people. So when they come into the shop, you can recommend them. And the book, I promise you, it sounds a bit twee, this, but it is the truth. This book that I'm going to show you pretty much changed my life, which is Holes by Louis Sachar. This is my very battered copy, because this book's perfect, I think. 200 pages long, but covers 200 years of history. And it is many things in 200 pages. It's a drama, comedy, western, crime book, murder book, mystery book, love story. It's got everything. And as soon as I read this book, I realised that was, it was a type of story that I would enjoy. So for the next couple of years, I read nothing but kids' books. And now I read children's books all the time, because for me, they're the greatest stories. And so it was other people's skill, like Louis Sachar's skill, really, that inspired me to be a writer, because once I'd read this, I knew I wanted to try and do it myself. And so I owe it all to Holes, the greatest book. Track it down, read it. I hope that answers your question. Cheers.
My next question is, describe your book in 3 words.
Describe my book in 3, not 1, not 2, but 3 words, which is a challenge because usually my editor chops down my very long books into much more sensible books. So I have a problem with too many words. So 3 is a challenge. Let's go for adventure. It is absolutely an adventure story. Excitement. I want there to be like peaks and troughs all the way through that keep you turning, ripping the pages over. And thirdly, undoubtedly, friendship, because this is a book about 3 very unlikely and different friends who end up on an adventure, which is all about your mates and all about the people that you love. So, friendship.
My last question is, what was your favourite book when you were 8?
I don't know if I had a favourite novel when I was 8. I found reading difficult. I didn't feel confident enough to read novels. I was scared of them, terrified of them. Too many words, not enough pictures, too many pages in the book, and they just terrified me. But I read comics, and my teachers used to tell me that wasn't proper reading because it was a long time ago, because as you can see, my beard is grey. But reading comics is reading. It's proper reading, just like reading magazines or stuff on the internet. That is still proper reading, or even listening to stories. That is proper reading. So my favourite stories when I was your age came from this comic. This is Roy the Rovers. Used to come to us weekly. This dropped through our letterbox in January 1981, and it was all about football, which is still pretty much one of my favourite things in the world. And when you opened it up inside, it would look like this. Words and pictures together on the page, and oh my gosh, it was about my favourite subject. So, undoubtedly, Roy the Rovers were my favourite stories. You can still read about Roy now. There's a brilliant author called Tom Palmer who's reimagined these stories as novels, and they're available as graphic novels as well, so seek them out. Roy the Rovers, proper reading. Hope that answers your question. Cheers. Bye.
Thank you very much for taking the time to answer my questions. I hope you had a great time.